Greg, tell me, there is a lot of discussion happening here at MWC around the edge. So what's happening behind the scenes to make all of these AI-driven experiences possible?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there's a couple of different elements to that. So we're seeing the network definitely moving towards the edge because the nature of AI traffic is changing. Obviously, we spend a lot of time building data centers and building these large language models and building the training. And now we're moving to the inference phase, right? Where people are actually going to be using these language models. So moving stuff to the edge is about making sure that the content that's been built is as close to the user as possible. And that network performance becomes really important because you need to have a secure network, you need to have a high performance network, and have to have as low latency as possible. So we're seeing a lot of infrastructure moving to the edge so that when that traffic is flowing, it has less distance to go.
Yeah.
We want to put the content as close to the user as possible. And everything that we're talking about here at Mobile World Congress and what Cisco's been doing for the last year and a half with our Agile Services Networking solution is building that infrastructure, fundamentally changing that infrastructure for AI traffic versus traditional data traffic.
Okay, so if I'm a service provider here at MWC, I mean, what is one capability that you're showing here on the show floor that could fundamentally change how I either provide services or monetize something like AI?
Yeah, well I think there's three parts to it. So the first thing that I just mentioned, moving to the edge, that's a fundamental core thing that we think service providers and other companies need to think about, is changing their network because AI traffic by its very nature is different. It's not necessarily that there's more bandwidth being consumed, but the network is different. We don't just see traffic going downstream, we see a lot more upstream, and we see things going what we call east-west, as we start seeing more and more agents. And I guess that's the second part of what we're seeing, right? Agentic AI is really becoming popular with a lot of businesses, and we're fundamentally building that into our products as well. So we're not just building networks for AI, we're using AI in our networks, right? So we have our assurance products to make sure that everything is functioning as it should be in the network and that you can keep an eye on what's happening. And then we have agents that help with automation as well, right? Because there's a shortage in this industry right now of skilled professionals. So we need to build more automation into our network, and AI can be really amazing with that, right? If one person can do the job of 2 or 3 people with an agent and with agentic AI and automate some of these processes, that can reduce costs for service providers. And that leads to the third point around monetization. So yes, we have to make sure the network is capable, we have to make sure we cut costs, but we also have to monetize all these investments. And Cisco has a number of platforms that are designed to help service providers monetize their network. The most obvious one that we're talking about at Mobile World Congress is what we call our Mobility Services Platform. And that's an ecosystem of partners that we have that help service providers offer new businesses to enterprises. So as an example, we just announced a deal a couple weeks ago, an extension of a deal actually with AT&T. They manage hundreds of millions of connected cars. And every car that rolls off the assembly line these days is equipped with a 5G SIM card, right? Like you can send updates to your car, you have self-driving capabilities, whatever it might be. AT&T actually controls all those different devices. So when firmware upgrades need to be done, and we have the platform that does that for AT&T. Well, we also work with lots of other providers around the world. So it's all about network infrastructure, building AI into the network for automation and assurance, and making sure that you can monetize that investment.
I heard you talking about automation, and I mean, we're seeing a lot of AI embedded directly into network operations. So
yes.
How is agentic AI and AI-driven network operations changing the way teams detect issues and troubleshoot?
Yeah, well, the way that we think about agents is it's like another pair of hands, right? So we help design agents that are designed to look for specific issues that are common in the network. So configuration issues or some kind of human error that we call like risk identification. And those agents are basically dedicated full-time to look for those issues that a human doesn't have to spend time just looking for all the time. And then when those issues are detected, it's sent to the human and they help do the resolution. But we also have products like AI Assistant and AI Canvas that are designed with the troubleshooting. So say, hey, let's run a test using this tool. Let's run a test using that tool. And all those tests can be running and it will tell you where the problem is, and then that's how you would determine what tool you would use to actually solve the problem in the network. And then you can even use AI for that, right? Give you some suggested recommendations. And we're at the point now where it used to be that you had humans doing everything, and we're not at the point where we're doing complete automation where the robots are doing everything. There's still a lot of human interaction, right? So the agents are going to make recommendations to you on what they think the problem could be, but you still rely on the expertise of the human to make the final decision and to do the configuration. But with them doing all of the legwork, so to speak, it just increases efficiency very dramatically. And that's the fundamental change that we see on assurance and automation as it relates to AI.
Is there anything here in the booth that people should come and have a look at?
Oh my gosh, I think there's tons of things to see. The other thing that I haven't mentioned is security. I think I would be remiss to not mention the importance of security, and there's multiple elements of that at Cisco. Obviously, we have our Splunk platform, which is our observability platform. It's about collecting lots of different data, and we talked about having an extra pair of hands. It's kind of the same idea. Splunk collects data from all different parts of your network, but also your billing data or whatever information, your customer service data, your NPS scores, and it can help you make decisions about what's affecting your consumers, but also has security data that can be fed there as well. So I think that's a really worthwhile thing to come see. And then security as a whole. We have new firewalls we can talk about. We've got built-in security into our products. I think that's something that some customers don't think about when they're initially making their plans about AI. How do I have to build AI? How do I build into my tools? And they go, oh shoot, we got to think about security, right? That's a huge thing, especially with quantum coming down the road. We know that's going to be at a whole other level to cybersecurity. So we have a whole array of security products that I think are probably the most important thing that service providers should come and talk to us about.
Give me an example of what you guys are doing around edge computing.
Yeah, we've got a lot of exciting news around edge computing. One thing that we launched just a few months ago was our new unified edge solution. And that's the concept, like I mentioned earlier, that we're seeing all of those language models moving towards closer to the subscriber, moving from training to inferencing. We have a new all-inclusive platform that has compute, data, storage, networking, all built into a single piece of hardware. And you can see that on the hardware wall behind me. But we also have our software side. And basically what we're getting across here is, I'll give you an example of Home Depot, okay? A Home Depot that's in Silicon Valley, California, and one that's in Anchorage, Alaska, would store 90% of the same products, but 10% would be different. So for example, in Alaska, you're going to have snow shovels and shovels for your car to clear the snow off. So what we're suggesting is each of these retail outlets would have a dedicated piece of hardware that would have all their information, their inventory and everything about the inventory that's in that store, which would be different than the inventory that's in the Silicon Valley store. And you can start having inferences, so you can have holograms, you can have touch screens, so people can ask questions to find out where the products are, and it's going to be specific to that location. We see that really happening in the world of AI with Edge, so that you're seeing that data, like I talked about being closer. If that equipment's actually in the store, you're going to have a really amazing experience, and it's going to be customized for that region. So we have our software that enables that here at the show, and we have the hardware that enables that here at the show. I think that's a really exciting thing to come see as well.
Perfect.